Let's be real. Why is it that some Etsy sellers seem to get hundreds of sales as soon as they open their shops, yet other Etsy sellers are grinding away creating listings and they're lucky if they get a couple of sales? The answer? Their designs are doing the selling for them. In this video, I'm going to show you how to recreate 3 viral Etsy products using Kittl in under 10 minutes. No Photoshop, no design experience needed. You can do this if you're a total design beginner. Now, my coaching team and I have spent well over 500 hours breaking down high converting Etsy designs. And today we are giving you our process for designing 3 best-selling products in Kittl from start to finish.
Hi, my name is Anabela and I'm part of Dylan's Etsy Success coaching team. I specialize in design, helping our students level up their game when it comes to designing products, images, mock-ups that feel fresh and actually sell. With over 4,000 students looking to scale their shops, design is an important part. So we are always paying attention to what's trending and how to make the design process easier and less overwhelming, especially for those with little to no design skills. That's where tools like Kittl come in. Super easy to use, its templates and built-in mockups make it a total game changer when it comes to teaching design and implementing it.
Let's start with tip number 1, what I consider a game changer for any Etsy shop, and this is clean and elevated wall art designs. The most common mistake that Etsy sellers make with wall art is trying to be clever instead of clean, because people buy wall art for the look, not just the message.
When we are positioning our design elements, we want to make sure that we create balance. What design element should be the main one to be focused on? The smaller one could be 1/3 smaller. We could also be thinking of adding a tiny element, something like simple dove, maybe a line-based, sort of like illustration, and also not too overpowered. This works nicely. I'm making this a little smaller so that it doesn't compete with the overall size and scale. I'm probably going to make it black because everything else is. It's a good rule of thumb to have the same thickness of your design elements. We also want to pay special attention when we're talking about the negative versus positive space, so the white space around your design. The positive space would be your design, your font, your message, and then the negative space would be your background.
Important lessons here are font hierarchy. Your headline should be the boldest, and then every line after that should be scaled down from the main headline. And then we're going to remember the white space rules, so using the 60-40 rule, where at least 60% is the design, and then 40% is more empty space to help the eye rest. And then lastly, we want to talk about balance. We need to visually center and avoid edge-to-edge stretching or imbalance from left to right and top to bottom. So balance is really important. Okay, now all of this is great, but tip number 1 will have 0 impact on your listing's performance if you're not perfecting this second hack. And this is about contrast and clarity in your editable templates, whether it's planners, resumes, invitations. If your design is not instantly readable, they will scroll right past it.
So we want to make sure to position it nicely and balanced, centered or asymmetrical. We actually want to be focusing on readability in here. We have this 60-30-10 rule where we have the base color to be dominant. Then we would have the secondary color, this beautiful trendy cherry red. Then we want to add our message in here. For example, first of all, I would make the font a little smaller. I would tighten up the spacing between the text lines. And then this beautiful red. So maybe we are looking for a nice readable script font. We want to make sure that it is working within the design as well. What we can do in here is actually break this apart. So maybe we want to do this, and then the branch could be the second word. Create a little bigger spacing between the letters, and then with us, I guess we can use this one. Nice and balanced. So you want to again spend some time in picking the secondary font like this and make sure that this is going to be readable. So maybe something like that. And now we want to sign maybe the Johnsons. So I'm going to copy paste this. It's super easy to do in Kittl. So maybe the Johnsons. So maybe medium italic. And then I could make this even smaller. And now we could add a little spice and add a very simple design element in here. So what could be good for brunch in this case? Perhaps something like this. Okay, so this looks good. Now, because this doesn't fit within the layout, we could maybe totally have it on an angle. We could have these tomatoes be the same red color as the rest of it. Or maybe we want to add a little twist. Could be, some beautiful, trendy, dark blue. I can make this slightly bigger. Perhaps a little darker color in this case. Yeah, very fresh.
So the 60-30-10 color rule is that we want 60% being the base color, 30% being a secondary color, and then 10% being an accent color. And remember, anything that's an action element like the name, the date, or the location, you want to make that pop because that element, that personalized element, is one of the reasons why people are buying it. Now, if you're really wanting to boost your sales, then you'll combine this with the next tip, which is one of the most underrated design tools that Etsy sellers forget. And this is emotional clarity in apparel designs. We gotta remember, people don't buy a t-shirt, they are buying how it makes them feel. This means that your design needs to say something that they would wanna say about themselves.
So one of the key principles we teach is to firstly pick a profitable customer and then a product. So we are not designing something that we find pretty, but we want to click with that feeling with our profitable customer. So who is our profitable customer? So let's say that it's a dog owner who is a male. And I already have a text here that I want to use. So I also found a font that's corresponding nicely. And I'm going to make everything monochromatic. And I'm also going to make sure that my fonts, my typography is nicely positioned in the layout. So a good suggestion is enabling the grid. Position your margins and your rulers according to the POD specification. And we can play with fonts here. So I'm going to duplicate this one. Judge you. The judge could be emphasized. I want to make sure that everything fits into this canvas that we created. We might actually use this as a back print because that's a pretty trendy product right now. That's nice. And then we are missing the U. And then we want to see where and how are we going to bring the design element into this. It could be smaller or bigger. It could be on the top, or it could be maybe smaller in there. I think the top works very nicely. The more personal it feels, the better response your design is going to get. We can test right away within Kittl to see whether this makes sense. We can put it on a mock-up. We can just select the artboard and one of my favorite buttons in Kittl, and it will bring a variety of mock-ups that we can use in here. They are using real live models. Here we can preview and see how our mock-up is looking. In here we can change the color of the t-shirts and of course switch between the mock-ups. And then we can download this mock-up and then go back to the editor to work on maybe different designs.
So it's really important when you're centering your items to always use the canvas guides. Always leave enough breathing room, I would say at least a 1/2 inch margin inside the print area. And we'll want to use emotional targeting. And this means that you'll use statements that buyers actually want to say and identify with. And that would be something like dog mom or grandma. What if you're doing all of this and your listings still aren't being seen? That is why this last trick is one of the most effective ways that top Etsy sellers get clicks. Let's see if you can spot it.
This time we can put this maybe a little bigger so that it's more apparent what it is. And sometimes less is more, so I'm just going to give it a try and see how this works. Just going to make it a little bigger. And now the fun part is I'm going to actually test it on a mock-up. This time it's going to be designing for a profitable customer that maybe prefers anthropology, maybe Lululemon, maybe a bit more youthful appearance. I'm really loving this one. This one fits the vibe. So I would want to put it maybe at front and see whether that looks good. So yeah, I'm quite happy with this design and I would go ahead and download it.
So we want to remember that good design gets the click, but it's the mock-up that will actually get the sale. And we want to remember that lifestyle often beats flat lays. So this means to always use mock-ups where the product is in action, it's in a full outfit, it's in its setting that you would actually put it in if you bought it. We also want to remember to have consistent aesthetic. So we want to match the listing image backgrounds to the shop's aesthetic or to the aesthetic of the design. So you don't want like a super trendy design with like a farmhouse 2017 vibe. And we always want to remember to package smart. So this means printables should always include multiple ratios, and templates should include instructions on how to edit them. Print on demand should also include color previews. So packaging this, all of that kind of visual merchandising and packaging will create a great experience and improve your conversion rate. Now, I want to say thank you to Kittl for partnering with me on this video. Kittl has great AI tools that can help create designs, but remember, AI is only as good as the information in the direction that you give it. It's really, really important to pay attention to those trends that are not yet on Etsy if you really want to maximize how you use Kittl in your shop and in your designs. So click over here and I will walk you through some of the top trends for this year that you can put into your shop.